Well, good morning, everybody. We have an exciting chat prepared for you today, and it may be morning for me, but we have Joyce Lee here with us from New York. It is still morning in New York, and we have Nicole Ing, our style director, who's actually in Spain right now, so it's evening time for her. So we are from all over the globe joining you today, and we are so fortunate and honored to have with us our guest today, Joyce Lee. Uh, she is a creative designer and she's worked with so many different famous brands that you all are probably own or have heard of. And so we are so excited to hear about her journey. And I'm going to go ahead and let Nicole kind of lead the discussion. Thank you, Joyce, for being here. We are so happy to have you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Welcome, Joyce.
Hi,
It's so fun
Nicole.
to do this with you.
Yeah.
So, Joyce and I, I'm so excited that she's doing the chat with us today because she's not only an amazing designer, and I've watched her career grow. And I think that there's so many women out there that are like obsessed with like your style and the things that you designed. And just looking forward to seeing what else you're putting out into the world. But Joyce is also my really, really good friend. We've been friends for like almost over 10 years.
No, we've been friends for like more
Yes,
than that.
it's
About
been a
over
long
20 years,
time.
Nicole.
Yes. Yeah, so it's been really fun to not only be your friend, but also see you grow and see all the amazing things that you've done, which Aspasia is going to show a slide.
Okay.
Um,
Get
and
them.
Joyce is going to tell us about her just her journey in her career. And my first question for you, Joyce, before we go into the deck is what inspired you to become, what desired you to be a designer and why accessories was your focus? Tell us a little bit about your beginnings.
Sure, I'd be happy to. Thanks again for having me. This is definitely really fun to chat with you, and excited for us to, talk through what's happening. I really have like a lot of good memories from just early childhood, like, being always wanting to go shopping, always wanting to find, fun things to wear. And I was always really, really obsessed with accessories, as you know, Nicole.
Yes.
So, shoes and handbags and bags, any kind of vessel to carry anything, like were things that I just would always be fixated on. And I remember trying to sew things. I remember one really core memory of mine is actually when jelly shoes, way back in that time, like were a huge trend and all my friends had them. And I was obsessed with, having a pair myself, all the different candied colors and the glitter and, all that fun sort of emotional connection you get when you see something like that. And my mom just would not cave in. She wouldn't get me a pair. So I remember sort of having to figure out, okay, well, how do I get myself something like this? And I just started to play around with like the little plastic 6-pack rings that come on like the cans of soda and just like taping them on my feet and trying to like create something three-dimensional. And of course, they didn't really work and they didn't function at all. But I just remember that being like such a huge part of realizing that I wanted to create things.
I think that's also like a testament to like your mom not buying you those things. That also helped you, when you don't get what you want and you try to make it. I feel
Yeah.
like that's kind of the beginning of design, right?
I think design is a lot of problem solving, right? Like it's a lot of just making something that doesn't quite exist yet and you want to make it either functional or you want to make it do something different or you want it to look different. So I think that's what I always think about is it's a problem solving strategy for me.
Hmm. And then we'll move on to your next slide.
So Joyce, it does sound that I mean, it sounds like you kind of, this has been something innate in you since you were a child, which is so great because this is part of who you are and how you grew up as well. I think that's
Yeah.
incredible.
Thank you. I know. I think I'm lucky in that I felt like I knew what I wanted to do, like, and it just kind of put me on a path where also back to the point of my mom not, wanting to buy those shoes for me. In addition to that, and I can get down, you know, into like the process of becoming a designer, really. It was a journey for me because I didn't initially have the support from my parents in pursuing, a degree in design or a career in design. So it was another big push of like really knowing what was inside of me instinctively and wanting to pursue that and really needing to find my own path.
Fabulous.
Which will move on to the next question, the All About You page. So we got a little bit of your childhood inspiration of becoming a designer, and then how did you see that through?
So, okay, so, in high school, of course, my personal style was developing as I was growing up, and I also knew that I wanted to really design, and I needed to, find a way to go to school so that I could find a job in the industry. And so my parents weren't keen on that. So I ended up going to UC Davis, which is in California, and they had a textiles program. So I was able to study textiles, which was the next, closest thing to design. At least it was something to do with the fibers and the fabrics and, all the ins and outs of like making garments. They also taught us about like the production process and manufacturing. So there were a lot of great sort of like core things that I did learn from that program, as well as even like an angle on like the marketing side. So it was a really cool program. After I graduated from there, I lived in San Francisco and also in London doing work experience. So I worked for Wallpaper magazine in London, which was really fun for me because I
I
got
bet.
a glimpse into like the shoe closet of the fashion closet and all of the Marc Jacobs shoes and the Christian Louboutins and like all the beautiful heels. And so I think at that point it really made me feel like I definitely needed to figure out how I was going to get into this design world. So coming back from London, I lived in San Francisco and I ended up working for Levi Strauss at that time because, it was one of the few brands that's based in San Francisco. And while I was there, I discovered was doing research and trying to figure out, there's got to be a program that I can do that can teach me some of the basics around accessories and how to design accessories. And I found this program at FIT in New York, and there was an associate's program, which was amazing because, for me, having had done my bachelor's degree already, I just wanted to get in there and like get industry experience. And so my mom finally decided, okay, you know what? Clearly my daughter is on this path, so I'm going to support her. She let me move to New York, and I remember like early on, Nicole and I, like being in New York
Mhm.
together when you guys had also moved to New York,
Yes.
and navigating sort of this whole, new city, new industries, and as Nicole really knows, like I was obsessed with Marc Jacobs and their shoes and their bags and was determined to start working there. And I got really lucky, after calling and calling and calling, the team there. Finally, I got an interview and remember being so nervous and so excited at the same time, but ended up getting an internship doing handbags there. So that was really, really foundational to like just everything. And that turned into me having a full-time assistant shoe design job. So that was like my first real job, in the industry. And it was truly like just inspiring to be there and be around like, that talented team and be in the presence of Marc Jacobs too, who I was just like so, you know, um, in awe of. And at that time, he was also the creative director for Louis Vuitton. And so we got to travel a lot during those 2 years. I got to travel to Italy a lot because of the shoe factories being there and developing the shoes and the collection for the shows, and then going to Paris to meet with him. And so it was really a very memorable time in my career.
Thanks for sharing. I know that was a time when he was also so up and coming, and everyone was excited about it. Was all about the bags and the shoes.
Mm.
Um, so let's move on about like what you're doing currently. I want to hear a little bit about that.
I wanted to also say, like, it's so inspiring to hear that story because people talk about manifesting, but
Hmm.
you can't just manifest. You hear the determination that you had, that you kept calling and calling.
Hmm.
You manifested it because you wanted it, but
Yeah.
also worked really hard to get there. And
Yes.
so that's very inspiring, and that's an important message for everybody to know. Things just don't happen. You got to work
Mhm.
hard to get that, to make that a dream come to fruition. So I appreciate you sharing that with us.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it definitely was. I remember it feeling like, oh my gosh, did I manifest this to happen? Because I was so driven and so determined to make it happen. And I think a lot of it goes back again to like my mom feeling like, okay, I need to prove to her, I can do this. Like I moved to New York because I wanted to pursue this, and I told her that I wanted to work for Marc Jacobs, and it was really exciting when it happened. And I felt like, wow, I feel so powerful that I can, like make things happen and have goals for myself and get there. And it was really, really fun. But after that, before we get into my current projects, I worked for Marc Jacobs for a couple of years, and then I went on to work for Michael Kors, doing footwear. And then one of my also like really big moments of feeling like I was in the right place was when one of my mentors from Marc Jacobs, her name is Joy Grayson, she had started her own handbag line with her husband, and they brought me in as their first employee. So that was also a really great, like, eye-opening experience, like being part of a small, small team and growing something from scratch. And, it was a very different experience from somewhere like Marc Jacobs. So that was really like another foundational experience in my career. And after 2 years of being there with them, there was an opportunity at Madewell. And I ended up becoming the head of accessories at Madewell, and was there in that role for about 7 years, and then ended up becoming elevated to the head of design role for all of the women's, you know, collection. So all of the apparel and accessories. So I was in that role for another 8 or 9 years, 9 years. So I spent like a total of 15 years at Madewell, and just left about a year and a half ago. So now that takes us to where we are now.
Wow, so that's almost 15 years.
Yeah, it was
Wow.
a long
You're
time.
a pro. It's been fun to watch you grow because I've seen the work you put into it. And it's just amazing. And I'm so happy for you.
Thank you. So yeah, now, I was excited to really lean into different projects and, doing things creatively with different brands. So it was really fun when I connected with the founders of Parker Thatch, a bag and accessories brand. They're based in California. And they were, at the point where they were really growing and expanding. And it just sort of was very organic and just how we started to work together. So I started working on designing some new product for them. So the bag on the left, there is called the Jack, and that was launched at the end of last year. And it's a bag that's made in New York. So it was also another amazing like moment in my career where I got to actually design that bag and make it in New York City. So really cool because that factory is based here, and I was able to like take the train over there and work with them in person on the pattern. And I think that's something that I missed a lot from being in a leadership role at Madewell was amazing, but it kind of took me away from like being more hands-on on some of the products and the designs. So this kind of brought me back into getting to actually like hand sketch something and really working on the pattern and working with the different materials that sort of turn this bag style into what it is. It's like a really soft slouchy leather. Our customers are loving this whole collection because they love the story that's made in New York. They love the leather and how it's really broken in and easy, and it sort of leans into the whole vibe of the brand. And then the next image of like those colors there, like, so helping them work through color palettes and different materials that we're kind of developing and sourcing and bringing into the collection to really sort of make it feel like it has its personality. Parker Thatch is known for a lot of like color and different combinations and, different like unexpected elements that I think really kind of differentiate it in the market. And then like the photos from this shoot were also, this was fun because I got to go to the photo shoot and work with a team on, coming up with like combinations of how we wanted to shoot everything, how we wanted to style things, and like what props we wanted to use. So it was really fun to collaborate with, the founders. And then we had a stylist and a photographer that are amazing. So it was just a fun day to kind of bring this whole collection to life. And then the bag on the right actually is called the Magic Bag, and that was like one of the newest bags that's launched that I designed. And one of the things that I love about it is that it's super versatile. It's got a little bit of a design twist because you can see it has like a round base and like a very like sort of oversized opening. And you can wear it, in a few different ways. There's like the pink little webbing handles on the side, and they sort of like they can swivel up and down, so you could like pull them down if you're only using the longer leather straps, or you can kind of tuck the leather straps in and use the little pink straps to just carry it like by hand. You can also snap it in different ways to make it kind of like a little lantern bucket shape. So it's really fun, and that has also been really resonating with the customers. And I feel like it's sort of all of these things also tie back to like my own personal kind of design philosophy, which like, I love to wear very sort of easy pieces, but I always like having a little bit of a design twist, or I always like having, things made with really kind of nice raw materials and really like high quality, materials. And I really kind of like to invest in products and brands that like have a story and have like a really, have a soul. And you sort of know what the process is and how things are made. And I think that's like a huge part of it too.
I love that you said that, have a soul, because there is, I don't think it's talked about that often, but brands that have a soul, you want to like invest in them more.
Hmm.
And what else? What I love about the bags is I like whenever I look at bags, I want to see like how are they going to age?
Hmm.
And because I don't know, I love a bag like you were saying about a story. Like I love when you have a bag and it's like you've had that bag forever and it ages with you,
Yeah.
and it has that story that you took you on all these, um, travels and special places. So like just looking at these bags, I'm like, they're gonna look so good
Hmm.
when they've been used over and over. It has that kind of vintage quality, but it still has that good leather.
Yeah, I think that's like the nice part about working with leather, it really lasts and like it's sustainable because it really, you can wear it for many, many years. You can pass it down and it looks better, like you said, like with age, it patinas and like, especially if
Yeah,
you invest in like a nice natural leather, I think, it always looks better over time.
yeah, I agree.
I also love how there was a lot of thought and the meticulous decision making that went into making this bag, like
Hmm.
those little straps on the side. And it's not just another bag. It's not just another tote. It's actually a versatile tote that you can wear in different ways. And I personally love that. I love when it doesn't just have character, but it has multiple uses. And I think
Hmm.
for all of us who are busy, who want to be able to use it in different ways and kind of change it up a little bit, that to me, that's intriguing and actually makes me want to go out and get one now. But
Yeah,
yeah, so yeah,
that's great.
yeah, that's really lovely.
And then we're going to move on to your next collaboration.
Yeah, so I worked with this brand that's based in India. They're called World of Crow. And when I was at Madewell, we actually carried this brand on our marketplace, our third party brands. And it was, it resonated a lot with like the audience. And I was connected with the founder, Shayla, who is based in India. And she had reached out to ask if I wouldn't wanted to do a collaboration. And she specifically was interested in doing something where we did women's wear, but also children's wear. And because she knows that I have two kids there, I have a 10-year-old named Poppy and a 6-year-old son named Kai. And, it's fun to dress the kids and play around with like colors and patterns and, sh shapes and silhouettes. And um, she knew that like I was very interested in doing kids wear, so that was definitely a draw for me because I hadn't done kids in the past and any of my past roles. So it was fun. I got to, create mood boards and come up with like the color story and everything that they make is actually very, very sustainably produced. So in this photo in the center, you can kind of see that collage of the process, like where they are actually just picking the organic cotton in the fields to someone spinning the yarn and then someone, weaving it by hand. And then it's either natural dyed or it's hand block printed in that image below. So just a little snapshot of some of the textures and the fabrics and the prints that we created. So that's the
It's so
mood.
fun.
Yeah, and so the model in the photo on the left and her two kids were actually models that we ended up shooting the collection on, and they are based in Mexico City. So when we get down to the next slide, we can talk through those too. So this is like how the collaboration and collection came together. And so Sue Wu is an incredible curator and writer who's based in Mexico City, and her daughter Isa and her son Octavio were our models. So it was really fun. We got to fly down to Mexico City and, shoot there. It was shot at my friend Olivia's beautiful space. She has an atelier. She has her own brand. It's actually called Chava Studio, where she makes amazing made to order shirts, tailored pieces, and that's its own story and like would be amazing to talk about to your customers because I feel like, or your clients, because I feel like it would be really amazing to sort of like share the whole story of, making something to order. And that's
Yeah.
also something here with World of Crow, they actually make to order. So they don't keep, amounts of inventory in stock. It's all made by artisans that are, in India. A lot of them actually work even from their own homes to produce everything. So it's not like a big factory. It's truly artisan made. And so the shoot was really fun. We did it in one day. We shot a lot of different things, like, from the kids to having the kids and the mom. And then also, Poppy is actually in that photo right there with Octavio running in the center image.
So
So
cute.
my daughter also came to do the shoot with us because we were also kind of shooting some of the behind the scenes, and it was just a really fun day.
It's lovely
I
when you
love it.
incorporate your kids into your world and what you,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's fun. In the slide above, actually, the hang tag artwork is actually drawn out by my daughter. So
Oh,
she was
wow.
using markers, and so we ended up using that, printing it on the hang tags too,
Nice.
which is fun.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
It's a true collaboration.
Yes, it's a true collaboration. And so that collection was launched a couple of months ago. It's still on the website. I just came back from Philadelphia where we did a fun trunk show at the store called Vestige at one of my favorite retail stores. It's really, really special. And so got to, interact with customers and talk to them about the collection and just spend a day in the store, the weekend in the store, which was really exciting for me because I actually come from like early on in my, high school days. My first job was working for the Gap in the store. And so it was really fun to just be back on the sales floor and working retail again.
Well, it's also fun because like this is your design and just, a lot of designers probably don't get to see that customer reaction of like picking up the clothes and
Yeah.
talking to you about it, which makes it really special.
Yeah, for sure. And it shows in like the sales and like, the emotional factor of like someone coming in person and seeing it and talking to you about it. Like you said, like earlier, just having the soul and having like a story, I think is really important for some people when they shop.
Yeah. I think it makes it more special when that
Hmm.
piece, that story. Um, so my other question for you is if anyone wants to follow you, your career, and see what you're up to, tell us a little bit about how they would go about doing that.
Yeah, so I actually launched a newsletter on Substack about this time last year. And so it's called Timeless. So if you're on Substack, you can find me there. And I aim to, write two newsletters a month, and I kind of keep things focused. I really do like to keep things focused around accessories a lot. So you'll see a lot of accessories in there, but also I like to feature things like, what kind of foundational wardrobe pieces are happening this season and like what my favorite things are. When I'm packing for a trip, I feature different vintage stores that I really like and, some of their assortment. And it's really fun because I also like to feature other people like, in the industry, and kind of get their opinion. So it's just a fun thing. It's, I don't consider myself a writer. And so actually it was kind of intimidating, like starting this initially. But now that it's out there, I think it's just a really nice way for me to like have a creative outlet, and share more than what's, able to be shared on Instagram.
Yeah, and I think people want to know, like, what are your favorite accessories? And I think that accessories are so big right now because I think that sometimes you don't want to always go shopping. You don't want to always have so much clothes that I feel like accessories change the look of your
Hmm.
clothes. And it's like such a fun way to style your clothes because there's so many different ways you can accessorize. So I'm
Yeah.
really like loving your Substack and just I think that accessories have really been on my mind lately
Yeah.
because of just, especially when you're a busy mom, you're like, sometimes I'm wearing like the same kind of clothes, but like when I add something different, a belt, it changes everything, or a scarf. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I feel like that's also how I dress. I tend to dress pretty simple, like, just in terms of like everyday pieces, but I always loved like to play around with accessories. Like what's the bag? What's the color? What kind of shoe? A shoe
yes.
really does change like the whole vibe of your look. So it's fun
It
to play around
does.
with. And it's
And
easy. Like,
also if you're wearing like a daytime outfit, you can change the bag and the shoe
and
and
then
it
yeah,
changes the whole outfit. I love
yes.
that.
For sure. I like to buy a lot of my apparel pieces that way. Like, if I can see that it could look like it can transition easily from a daytime look to an evening look with a change of a shoe and accessory and a little lipstick and some jewelry, like it's perfect, It's
An
easy for me to
investment.
like invest in
Yes.
that. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It was so fun to not only talk to you because you're my friend, but because I've like admired and followed your career for so long that it's so fun to like share you with our audience.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been really fun to chat. And yeah, it's also fun to see you. Like, I love that you're doing personal styling. And I think it totally makes sense, like, from, of course, many years of knowing your personal style and how you love to play around with clothes. So it's fun that you get to share that with people too.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was wonderful meeting you, Joyce, and learning about your creative journey and where you are today. And I'm sure this has definitely resonated well with our audience, and hopefully they will follow you on your blog on Substack. It's called Timeless, you said.
Yeah, it's called Timeless. Yeah.
And like Nicole, I do feel like accessories are an important part of our wardrobe because it does help us remain sustainable. And
Hmm.
that's one of our goals here at the Style Trust as well, is to kind of utilize what you already own and not encourage more buying and buying and buying, and just becoming more versatile and learning how to make the most out of what you have. So, uh,
Absolutely.
yeah. So, and your story is, like I said, very inspiring. And to all those young people out there who are just starting, I think you are an amazing role model for them and how they can achieve their dreams and their goals. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, this concludes our style chat for April. And thank you, Joyce, again. What an honor to have had you. And thank you, Nicole. And we will see you all next month. Okay. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. I'm going to stop sharing.